Hello out there, listening world. Wesley Bray here with Core Scope Insights, where we're always at the core of industry, expanding the scope. How are y'all doing tonight? Hope everybody had a great Easter. Hope everybody's getting over the pollen and the sneezing and the coughing. I know I've had my share of it, and I think this time of year just seems to get everybody in the spirits of summer and what's to come. But we all have to go through the speed bump of the pollen and everything that comes along with spring. But hey, Josh, I have got Josh Smith in the studio with me tonight, and Josh is the instructor at Midlands Tech for the welding program over there. So way out of the industry for HVAC tonight. But as I told you, we were going to throw some curveballs and have some different content. So Josh, take it away, my friend. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into welding.
Yeah, I'd love to. So like I said, my name is Josh Smith. Industry, working at Avantech, working on nuclear waste liners as well as like water purification systems. Spent some time in the nuclear industry as well as uh, a fab shop around the Columbia area that did everything from ornamental work, like custom decorative pieces, to structural components for hospitals and hotels and everything else. So I've kind of had my hand dipped in a little bit of everything.
Wow, that's cool. So what inspired you to get into welding, Josh? I'm gonna be honest with you. Welding is something that has always intrigued me. I did a little bit of it. I got to experiment with it when I was in the Navy on the ship. There was when we were in the shipyard. The welder that we had to stand watch with a when you first get on your TAD. So temporary assigned duty, I had to stand watch for the welders and make sure I fired it. And you stand there ready with a fire extinguisher. But one of the welders allowed me the opportunity to weld, so I got to try it out.
Yeah.
I just sucked at it. But what inspired you to get into welding? Because I think it's a very, very good trade.
Yeah, most of my family, so most of them are all rigging and hanging iron for tall structures and stuff. Uh, so I'm
Hmm.
from anywhere from 4 to 500 acres right there.
Oh, okay.
So learning how to weld on fence posts and cattle guards and everything like that was always seemed pretty cool. And then learning that it's actually a pretty lucrative career option, compared to a lot of the other things. And
Sure.
I mean, being able to see something built from raw steel to a structure, it's pretty
Yes.
cool to see.
Yes, very much so. Let me ask you so you're instructing these teenagers, a lot of them that come out of high school and they come to Midland Tech folks, and they want to get started in welding, but what does a typical day for you look like as an instructor?
Typical day for me, we usually start our classes around 8 o'clock in the morning. I like to run our lecture classes first. So whether that be a welding safety class or a print reading class or destructive testing, anything like that. So I'm teaching lecture classes, and then I teach anything from, basic entry level stick welding to TIG welding on pipe and other qualification classes to practice for the more advanced qualification tests that you do for a company when they need to test you for a job.
That's awesome. So you guys have stick welding, TIG welding,
Stick, TIG,
and
MIG,
MIG.
flux core. Um, we do carbon arc gouging, which is a cutting process, plasma cutting, oxyfuel cutting. We do just about everything.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So my question is how in demand are welders now, not only in South Carolina, but nationwide? I mean, you don't find people going into the trades, I don't feel as commonly as they used to, but what I know that you listen to the news, you listen to, you read articles. Do a lot of reading on LinkedIn and stuff, and it looks like everybody's looking for someone with experience. But what are the opportunities in South Carolina and then outside abroad in the nation for welders right now?
It's huge. I mean, and nationwide, I think there's currently around a 500,000, a need for another 500,000 welders as a shortage.
Wow.
You can actually Google what the average age of a welder is, and it's like low to mid 50s. You can
Right.
see most everybody in the industry is getting ready to retire, so that's about to get a lot higher.
Right.
In South Carolina, the need's huge. I mean, our program's packed. A lot of people coming in. They're giving us more expansions to get more students in, but we
Mhm.
still produce more students than the job availability, right?
Wow.
I mean, other way around. There's more jobs
Right.
that need to be filled than what we can actually output.
I was gonna ask you what industries are actually hiring the majority of your students now? What manufacturers or businesses or mainly industries, I'm sure, that are hiring welders right now? I mean, not only South Carolina, but anything you know of. I mean, because I know you're on top of all that stuff.
Yeah, so we help with job placement for our students. A lot of our students want to end up staying locally, so they're going to end up in a manufacturing job, which still you're working with huge equipment. So there's a lot of manufacturing around the Columbia area. You have Owen Steel, which was I think they're one of the largest fabricators on the East Coast, and they're located in Columbia. They build skyscrapers up in New York and everything. Just down here is where they're doing the prefab work for all the components that have to be shipped up there. There's a bunch of other manufacturing out in Columbia. Some of our students end up going to smaller mom and pop shops
Right.
because they know someone, they want to get their foot in the door. And then, I mean, some of our students want to go on the road.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity if you want to travel too. We got students that'll end up going and working for unions, or we have companies that come test them if they want to go into boiler making. A lot of travel work options as well if they want to make more money.
Right. Now, this is kind of off the beaten path, but do students have to go through something? I'm sure. I don't know if y'all teach it. I mean, underwater welding. Is that something y'all do?
So we don't do that. There used to be an underwater welding school in Charleston.
Really?
Since then, it's been closed down. I think the closest one now is in New Jersey.
Really?
But we've had previous people that do underwater welding come in. You still got to learn welding on land first,
Right.
and you can Google all the job options for underwater welding and how much they get paid.
Sure.
But if you dig a little deeper, you find out only a small percentage of them actually make that top tier money, and you
Right.
can make just as much money
On
doing
land.
travel work on land, doing plant work for power generation.
That's awesome. What is something that people in general misunderstand about welding as a career?
Hmm. Some people just automatically assume, I guess it goes to any trade, that it's going to be easy
Yeah.
and that anybody can do it. With welding, it takes a lot of hand-eye coordination. Um, so a lot of dexterity, being able to work not only both hands, but sometimes your foot at the same time while laying underneath the piece that you're welding. So you have to be able to be uncomfortable and still be able to produce quality work.
Tell everybody out there in the listening world who may question. I'm sure this will get a lot of questions, but tell everybody out there in the listening world what a student needs to what skills do they need to have to be successful as a welder.
A lot of people would immediately think that the welding skill is the most important, but the feedback we get from companies are more of the soft skills, I guess, that
Hmm.
this generation seems to be lacking more and more, being accountable, being able to be punctual and showing up to work, not just
Right.
not showing up, not even letting them know you're not going to show up.
Right.
And any trade, you need to learn how to read a tape measure.
Right.
That's a huge one we get them in there, and basic math and being able to read a tape measure. You got to be able to do that.
Sure.
Uh,
Absolutely.
some of them skills are very, very important to get overlooked.
And how long would you say that it takes for someone to become job ready? I mean,
Depends because there's so many different industries inside welding. I mean, we can get somebody from the LTC program that could have, immediately went and found a job in manufacturing, but maybe they want to get into something more advanced, like TIG pipe welding, welding on stainless steel and some different alloys.
sure.
So it kind of depends on what area they want to dive into
Right.
and how much work they're willing to put in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, as far as going through the Midlands Tech program, um, That's a 2-year program, is that correct? And when they graduate, what kind of certificates or do they have from there? And then what can they do from that? If you can enlighten everybody out there in the listening world a little bit, where can they go from a 2-year degree? Is it a degree or is it a certificate? Okay, yeah. So tell us a little bit about the programs that y'all offer and what your students leave with and what they can do afterwards to further their career.
Yeah, so the biggest thing they're coming in, they're being able to develop the skills. We're letting them practice the tests that they're going to do for the job that they want to go to. They'll end up with an associate's degree, which could help them down the road if they want to maybe pursue and go into inspection work, become a CWI like I think all of our instructors are.
Right.
So by getting the associate's degree, you can actually lower the years of experience needed to be able to go take the test. So that's
Okay.
helpful. You leave with 2 certificates of completion. South Carolina works a little differently than you hear on, TikTok and everything else about all the certifications. South Carolina companies mainly work on a qualification system, which is the in-house system of making sure someone is qualified to do the work. So it's the same
Mhm.
test as a certification test, just it's in-house of the company, and they will do that test and issue you a qualification that stays in your record at that company.
Oh, that's cool. I know I needed a welder to do some work for me not too long ago. I guess it's been about a month or a month and a half ago. And I had a gentleman show up here and do some welding for me. And he was a traveling welder, had come, had his gear in his van with him and, did what I needed to do. And I mean, I guess there's all kinds of opportunity if you want to go. I mean, I don't know. There was I put on Facebook looking for someone that can do some welding and all my friends suggested 100 different people, and I made a connection with a guy, and he did a great job as far as what I know about welding. But I mean, like I said, something I've always been interested in, and it was even cool just to watch him do it. Of course, I guess you got to protect your eyes and everything. And I'm sitting there trying to squint and watch. I wanted to watch so badly, because I really find it intriguing. But let me ask you this: what separates a good welder from a great welder?
That's uh that's a good question. Uh, I don't know. There's just something like a lot of people can be good enough to be acceptable by code. But then you run into a pretty good welder now and then that is just flat out just slick. Everything they do is clean, and I guess the biggest thing that separates them a lot of times can just be pride.
Yeah, sure.
A big thing that people need to do more is take pride in your work.
Right.
I think that can easily separate someone good from someone great.
Absolutely. Good answers. Well, folks, that's going to bring us to our first break in the show. We're going to wraps up segment 1 here with Josh. But man, I'm really intrigued. I can't wait to get into segment 2. We're going to take just a moment to recognize our sponsors. Can't thank them enough. And a show wouldn't be a show without our sponsors. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. When your business depends on reliable cooling, you need a partner who understands the science behind keeping things running. That's Hudson Technologies, America's leader in refrigerant solutions. From recovery and reclamation to the refrigerants you rely on every day, Hudson delivers certified, high-quality products that keep HVAC systems, commercial facilities, and industrial operations performing at their peak. Their unmatched reclamation network means you get refrigerant you need, pure, tested, and ready for service. And with Hudson's commitment to sustainability, you're not just keeping systems running, you're helping protect the future of the industry itself. When performance matters, trust the team with the experience, the technology, and the supply to keep you moving. Hudson Technologies, refrigerants reimagined. Learn more at HudsonTech.com. When the weather changes in the Carolinas, your comfort shouldn't. That's why homeowners all across Andrews, South Carolina rely on Bruce Brown Heating and Air. From quick, dependable repairs to installing modern, energy-efficient systems, Bruce Brown keeps your home feeling just right, no matter the season. Their certified technicians show up on time, diagnose issues accurately, and deliver honest, reliable service you can count on. No pressure, no surprises, just a local team committed to keeping your family comfortable all year round. Need a repair? Ready for an upgrade? Trust the pros who put customers first. For your comfort needs, call 843 264 5483. All right. So we're back with Josh Smith tonight. What a pleasure it is for me to just talk welding because it's something I totally have mentioned a couple of times already. I have a huge interest in. So I want to ask, what are some of the biggest challenges that face the students with learning how to weld?
Um, hand-eye coordination.
Be able to weld that straight line, don't you?
Straight, and it's when you're welding, it's really bright. You're doing something wrong because you shouldn't be. So
Right.
something's wrong with your helmet.
That means it's arcing, right?
Yeah,
Or so,
so it's working right, but when you got your helmet down, it's supposed to be dark, and you should see the puddle. That
oh,
puddle's giving off just enough light to see what's around it.
uh-huh.
So being able to have that depth perception, being able to see what's going on, I'd say that's really important.
And tell everybody. I mean, I guess it depends on where you're working at and the industry you're working at. Like some of these big steel places and manufacturers. I mean, welding can be physically demanding, can it not be?
Yeah. A lot of places, I mean, you can easily work a 12-hour shift. That's kind of the norm. Um, and it's hot, right? And
Right.
especially down here in South Carolina, on top of the heat in the summer, you got
You're wearing all that protective gear.
you got all the humidity. You're covered head to toe to protect you from the UV rays coming off the weld puddle. And then you're working with a lot of times it could be dirty steel,
Yeah,
out beating in the sun, laying in a ditch.
sure.
So it can be very physically demanding.
And next, I want to talk about what advice can you give someone who's thinking about enrolling at Midlands Tech? Maybe they're getting ready to graduate because, hey, we're going to have a graduating class here very soon out of high school. So maybe they're making their choices now and their decisions on where they want to go. Talk about, if you could, to the audience out there a little bit, maybe somebody listening, maybe on the fence of what they want to do and where they want to go. Talk about Midlands Tech and what they offer as a school to these students and the opportunities you guys provide.
Yeah, I'd say our reputation kind of speaks for itself. Our classes fill up really quick. So if you are on the fence about wanting to, be a part of the program, you want to sign up quick. If you want to come out and take a tour, you could always stop by the welding shop. Try to call somebody at the school. They can give you my number, my email. You can shoot me an email if you want to stop by. I can walk you around and you can go check out other welding schools, get some comparison, especially if you don't know anything about welding. You walk into the first welding shop and that's all you know. So go look at somewhere else too and compare the two of what they offer.
Sure. It's gotta be a rewarding career. It's kinda like, I look at welding as something you're starting from scratch, and you could be building skyscrapers. I mean, you could be welding airplanes together, automobiles. I mean, there's such a plethora of opportunities for welders. So that kinda led me to a question I wanted to ask you specifically. Talk about one of your favorite jobs that you've done or a project that you've worked on. Talk about one of your favorite projects you've been able to work on.
Um, Probably the favorite thing isn't that crazy. Is building a stainless gas tank for a car I was rebuilding. I'd say the craziest thing I was working on. Um, there was kind of not like a big thing, a little leak in a containment vessel at a power plant. I forgot where it was, but it was had radiation, right? So a lot of young people don't know about these, but the old Russian nesting dolls
Not familiar with
have a
that.
top inside a bigger one that caps off.
Oh yeah,
Bigger
okay.
one that
Yes, yes,
so it
yes.
kind of reminded me of that because we had to build a round shell with swinging arms that could go in and pick up this container, and then it had to fit inside of a bigger one to be filled up, capped off to go inside of a bigger one.
Mm,
Which that was crazy. I think that day I worked a 21-hour shift.
really?
Oh yeah, I was
Long hours.
I think when it
Now was you stick welding or
with that one it was mainly MIG and flux core.
yeah.
Just because we needed it done quick.
All right, explain to an idiot like myself. Yes, I'm calling myself an idiot, folks, because I really want to know the difference. what is the difference between I'm assuming what I did when you got the stick through your stick welding, but what is MIG and TIG? What does that all stand for? What is the acronyms MIG, TIG, and can you explain?
So stick welding, the acronym is SMAW.
Okay.
So it's shielded metal arc welding. It's a metal core that's shielded with flux that creates a gas shield little reaction when you're welding.
Okay.
So that actually has a physical rod that you put into a electrode holder that is melting and going away as you're welding. Um, I'd say the next one I'd talk about would be MIG welding, which that's the one where you see the guys welding and they're holding like a little gun, squeezing the
Uh-huh.
trigger.
Folks, the host had his phone on. I should be slapping my wrist. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
Then you got MIG welding, which is GMAW. It's gas metal arc welding. So you have
Okay.
a solid metal wire that has a silicon coating on it that's on a wire spool, right? And it's fed through a wire feeder. You actually set the wire feed speed on the machine so it feeds out at a certain inches per minute.
Okay.
And you set your voltage. That one has a external shielding gas. That for most cases, it's going to be a argon and CO2 mixture. Right, so 75-25 mixture on that. Flux core welding is almost kind of the in between stick welding and MIG welding. So it has the same wire spool and the same equipment as MIG welding, but
Really?
it's flux cored, right? So it has a metal wire where the core of it has flux, the same as the stick rod has flux on the outside,
No.
right? So it does still create a slag covering as you're welding that you have to chip off. And for flux core, they can use self-shielded or dual shield. So self-shielded, you don't need an external shielding gas, whereas dual shield you do. And typically you're going to run the same shielding gas you would with the MIG welding process,
Oh, cool.
right? And then you go into TIG welding, which I think is probably the most challenging one for people to kind of learn.
Like,
Because when you're TIG welding, you have a torch in this hand that has a piece of tungsten as your electrode,
okay.
right? So that's what creates the arc. In your other hand, you're holding a filler wire, right? That
Okay.
you're feeding into the puddle,
More like soldering, right?
kind of,
Kind of. Okay.
and that cannot touch the tungsten. If it
Oh,
does,
really?
bad things happen. Um,
Wow.
with that being said, you can add more difficulty to it by adding a foot pedal that's controlling your heat.
Wow.
Right? So adding all that together while you're going around a piece of pipe can make that one really difficult.
That can be about as meticulous as operating an old sewing machine,
Oh
can
yeah.
it?
Oh yeah.
So trying to get your stitch. No, I mean, I guess it kind of affiliates to that, where they had the old pedals and everything. I'm kidding, folks. I'm not that stupid trying to tie the two together, sewing and welding, but just very interesting. I mean, I personally would love to go through the course, I believe, because I find it so interesting. Um, but let me ask, what is something that a welder should invest in early? What piece of equipment should they invest in early? Make sure they get, what they need. Talk about maybe a little bit about what every welder should have, or do you guys don't provide it at the school, do you? Or
No, we don't provide it. We give them a tool list of what they are required to have.
okay,
Um, Part list we give them. It's the best bang for your buck. We're not trying to get you to go out there and spend the most money, right? Because welding hoods could range from a $50 hood at one store to a couple grand,
sure,
right? So we're not trying to get you to spend an arm and leg for all your tools. We're trying to get you something that'll last a decent amount of time, but it's also, decent quality. I'd say the biggest thing a welder has to invest in is definitely their welding hood, right? Because I mean, you hear stories about welders going blind and stuff.
hmm
A lot of times that's from them not wearing a hood in general.
that's the flip helmet,
Yeah, you
right?
got your hood that goes down, has a
Yep,
dark lens looking through. That's your biggest investment because without your eyes, you can't do the work,
sure,
right? So
sure,
being able to invest in a decent helmet can definitely not only help you work safely, right, but actually gives you better visual clarity as you're looking at the weld.
right. Now, um, talking about welding, and we're trying to stay on the positive things of it, but I'm sure there's gases you're breathing and things that's or is there respirators you wear under there or
Oh, for certain, it depends on the material.
Really?
Yeah, so it depends on the material. So if you're welding on galvanized or a lot of times like some stainless steels, like stick welding and stuff, that can release like hexavalent chromium, which is not good for you to breathe in. So depending on the material you're welding that on, will depend on the PPE that's needed, right? Because there's
Uh-huh.
a bunch of different types of respirators that can be pumping fresh air in. So it really just depends on the material and the ventilation around you, right? So you got to have some type of ventilation when you're welding, whether it's, if you're outside, you got natural ventilation, air's moving, it's blowing stuff away. If
Yep.
you're in a confined area, there's a different protocol going into it as far as ventilation concerns go. A lot of times they'll have tubes running in the tanks if you're welding inside of them, either pushing fresh air in or pulling air out. In
Yeah.
addition to that, you have gases and stuff you got to worry about. So I know a bunch of jobs I've done where I was in a confined space, you have a air sniffer,
Okay.
right? So you
Yep.
have that in where you're working, and it's monitoring all the different levels of all the different gases. And if anything gets close to outside the normal range, it'll start buzzing, beeping,
Really.
and going off, meaning you have to immediately exit and figure out what happened,
Right.
why it happened, to make sure you are staying safe.
That's cool. Well, folks, there's a reason I had Josh on tonight. Not only because he's a great guy, very, very easy to talk to, but I feel like he has a passionate enough about what he's doing that he does when he's teaching youngsters to do his trade. So, Josh, we're going to take our last break. We'll come back segment 3, and we're going to let you spin the prize wheel before the end of the show. So we'll find out what lucky listener wins a prize tonight, and I would like to have Josh back on the show another time. Josh, would you please be a guest again some other time? Because I find this very entertaining and educational myself. But folks, we'll be right back. Y'all stay tuned. Thank y'all for watching. Can we all agree that when your equipment stops, your business stops? That's why professionals trust Bearing Supply in West Columbia. They provide high quality bearings, power transmission parts, industrial supplies, and expert support to keep operations running smoothly. When you're in manufacturing, automotive, construction, or maintenance, their knowledgeable team helps you find exactly what you need fast. With dependable products and customer focused service, Bearing Supply keeps the Midlands moving. Call them today at 803 791 0371. That's 803 791 0371. Is your home feeling more hot and bothered than cool and comfortable? Don't sweat it. Call Cool Care Heating and Air of All right, we are back with Josh. Hey, wonderful conversation tonight. I'm having a blast. But listen, we're winding down, so we're getting to that part that everybody likes to see, and they keep their fingers crossed to see if they want anything. Hey, but out there, if you haven't subscribed, please go to Core Scope Insights podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to our podcast. Give us a like, a thumbs up, and we certainly would appreciate it. And so, Josh, I'm going to ask you one more question here, and then I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. But where do you see the welding industry in 5 to 10 years?
So I just had the opportunity to go to Cleveland. I think it was in November, to Lincoln Electric's world headquarters.
Oh,
So I got to go through there. There's a bunch of cool stuff with automation,
okay.
and a bunch of people, that I talked to are worried about, automation and stuff coming in and taking jobs and everything, which that's not going to happen, even from the companies that
Right.
strictly work with robotics. You need someone that knows how to weld to be able to watch the welder, control the welder still, um, and be able to diagnose problems.
Yep.
But automation is becoming a thing that's getting out there more. Some companies are using it to take away remedial tasks that they could be having their employee do a lot better things.
Sure.
So it's more the robotics are going to be helping the production
Right.
the industry. I did see one
Still
thing.
gonna need quality control,
Oh,
though.
still need quality control. You still need welders, but some of
Right.
those remedial tasks where you're just sitting there welding the same thing over and over, it can take some of those tasks away and put that welder on something
Right.
more meaningful. I also got to host a little meeting for our local American Welding Society chapter, and I had a guy come in talking about robotics, and he actually showed us AI in
Really?
welding. So they're calling it adaptive technology, where it's able to go through and read programs and adapt to what's happening as it's welding.
Wow.
Um, which they're talking about using some of that in places where they can't necessarily get a person up there in an easy to access place for certain jobs, which is still early on in the works, like prototypes and stuff.
Sure.
I mean, the job still needs. I mean, people need welders. It's not going to change.
Yep.
Huge shortage is continuing to grow. There's definitely not gonna AI is not gonna come take all of our jobs.
That's true. Very true. That's so interesting just to talk about it and, you know, to learn what's available. So at this point in the show, Josh, I would love for you, unless you have something else you want to add, but if any, and feel free at any time. This is open dialogue. So, but what do you, well, how can people that are interested in the program, how can they get in touch with you? Do you have an email or do they need to contact Midlands Tech? Just talk about how they would approach the technical college about getting into the program.
Yeah, you could shoot me an email. My email is smithjk@midlandstech.edu.
Okay.
If you just shoot me an email saying who you are, tell me you want to come out and see the facility or talk about a program, and I'll reach back out to you and we can set up a time for you to come chat and look around.
Awesome. And one thing we talked about during the break, and I think it's important to mention, is it's not only the 2 year program, but if someone wants to get involved or come to a night class and do one or the other, MIG or stick, or,
Yeah,
so those classes are available too. That's really cool.
we got the corporate and continuing education side.
Uh huh.
So even if you want to come take a one-off class for stick welding or MIG welding, like you want to do as a hobby or something, you can do that. Or for the people that need to be able to work a full-time job to support a family, but are still trying to, head in make a change in careers,
Sure.
right? We got that program set up where we have a morning section, an afternoon section, and a night section that goes from 6 to 9. So it can kind of work around your schedule while you still work a full-time job. I've had
Awesome.
guys work a night shift, come in for the morning class, go get some sleep before they go back to work. I mean, it will be rough for a little bit, but
Right.
looking at the end goal of where do you want to be,
Sure.
that's another option that the school offers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, folks, at this point in time, I'm going to go over and join Josh at the table. So y'all stay tuned. We're going to spin the prize wheel, and then Josh is going to help me say goodnight to you folks out there. So stay tuned. And then once it lands on the prize, we'll reach in here and pull out our winner tonight. So I will keep my fingers crossed for some lucky winner. Just hope it lands on a good prize, and I guess I'm hoping for all of you. We draw your. Here we go, Josh. Spin away. All right. Someone has won a $50 Walmart gift card. All right. Who can't use a Walmart gift card,
Yeah.
right? All right. Let's set that aside. Josh, now you get to spin this around, rotate it however you want to do it to finagle it. Then we'll just reach in the door there and pull out one lucky winner. All right, this is the part where I got my fingers crossed, folks. Just one.
Scott Johnson.
Scott Johnson. All right, with April Air, good friend of mine. Scott, hope you're doing well out there. Thank you for subscribing to the show. And I know you can go find something you want at Walmart. So, folks, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thank y'all so much for watching. Thanks for staying tuned. Josh, great having you.
Thanks for having me.
Doing this again with you is great. We can cover some other stuff about welding.
Yes, sir.
And So thank you folks for staying tuned. And we're going to say good night on a 1, 2, 3. Good night. All right.